What's up, everybody? It's the Pope Elijah Burke, and I want you to tune in whenever you can to make sure that you're listening to Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast with Adam and Fiona.
Welcome back to the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. Another great interview coming up right now. But first things first, let me introduce my co-host for the evening, all the way from Scotland, and I'm in the UK. It was the wonderful Miss Fiona Lockran. Evening, Fee.
Good evening, my love. How are you?
Not too bad. The
Good stuff.
first of three times we're going to be together this week on the
I
show.
know. God, I'll be sick of the sight of you by Friday.
I'll be sick of the sight of you after this. Let alone after the three. Anyway, enough about us, Fee. We could talk all night, but we got to talk to our guest now. Some of you will remember our guest because yesterday at the time of recording marked the 10-year anniversary of the debut in TNA of the Decay. Now you remember that particular duo, trifecta of people consisted of Rosemary, Abyss, and our guest at this time, Crazy Steve. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good now. We had a little bit of trouble getting in here, but once we got her sorted out, I think we're all right. But yeah, no, I'm great, and thanks so much for having me.
No,
That's good to have you here.
thanks for coming on. And yes, just before everyone wonders what Steve's on about, we had an audio issue, which is resolved, as you can all hear, and see if you're watching us on YouTube. So thankfully, we are all here. We are all here. Can hear each other and see each other, which is a good thing. Steve, it's going to be a pleasure talking to you. I hinted just then. Look, I know you was in TNA prior to the Decay, but obviously this past Monday was that 10-year anniversary, and I remember it vividly. The American Wolves are in the ring. The music plays. Rosemary comes out and she says, "Riddle me that, riddle me this. In our world, we're all mad here." And then she hits the three decays, and then you come spinning around her, and then behind you is the big monster Abyss or Chris Parks, depending on when you call him now, because he's on Unreal. With that, I mean, how did all that come about with the Decay?
So, as you stated earlier, like I was in TNA prior to that. I started in TNA in 2014.
Yes.
And I was part of the Menagerie.
Yep.
And that kind of came and went, and all of my Menagerie cohorts were either no longer with me or just not associated with me. So I found myself kind of floating in the X division,
Mm.
but I still had this clown aspect to me. And the version of Crazy Steve that you see in Decay was pretty much what I was doing on the independents already. So I always had that in my back pocket of like, hey, when this clown thing doesn't work out, like it's still the same character, just with a different shade of paint, so to speak, and maybe a different bit of attitude. And yeah, I can just play with it. So I had another side or more layers to the character that I was able to exploit when the opportunity presented itself. And I'd always wanted to work with Abyss. I had been lobbying to get into TNA from like 2009 and beyond. And I would always associate my character with Abyss's character whenever I would write up like a resume of what the character is and how he would fit in with the company and this, that, and the other. I just felt like it would just work. And I got to know Chris on a personal level, and we became friends. So it was like he was all for it as well. So in 2016, I pitched to our boss at the time, who was John Gaboric, like, hey, like this would be a good time to put me with Abyss. Let's do something with me and Abyss. Let's put me in a tag with Abyss. La 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 la. And I remember at a TV they tried it out. It was like one of those special like pay-per-views where it was like, I can't remember what the heck they called it, but they had a theme to it where like everybody had a different partner for the night. Except for the American Wolves, they always got paired up with each other every single year, ironically enough. Anyway, and they put me with Abyss as like a test run. So we did it, and it was awesome. He enjoyed it. And then over Christmas, I was at a Nashville Predators game with myself, Eric Young, John Gaboric happened to be there as well. And he had let me know, hey, we're going ahead with your pitch. And I was like, oh, great. Awesome. He said, we're going to call it Decay. That was Billy Corgan's idea. and we have a female in mind. We want to add a female to the group. They had mentioned someone like who they were thinking of, and on the way home from that hockey game, myself and Eric Young were talking, and like I've known Rosemary from the time that she broke into pro wrestling, and at the time, at this particular time in 2016, she had just happened to be doing the Demon Assassin character. And I thought, wow, if they're looking for a female, man, I've got a female who I've worked with, and we have great chemistry. We're really good friends, and she would understand what we're going for, and like just she would, she'd dive in if she was up for it. So I remember messaging her and asking her if it'd be okay if I threw her name in the hat, and then I got an immediate response from TNA, like, hey, tell her to send us a match, tell her to send us a couple promos. And literally within 2 weeks of that happening, she was hired. And we were off to the races for the beginning of what would be Decay. And then to top it all off, so we get to the venue that day, and since I had known that, hey, okay, this was happening, we're doing stuff, we were able to be prepared as it pertains to like what we look like gear wise. I already had the makeup design in my head. I had all sorts of ideas that I was ready to bring to the table, from like an in-ring stuff to visually to everything. And when I went and approached Billy Corgan about the theme music, I said, what do you see for this group? And he's like, well, I don't really see like a death metal sort of like groove. And I'm like, cool. I don't see that either. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, I listen to death metal every day that I'm in the gym. But for Decay, I felt like the decaying process takes its time. It's slow moving. It's methodical. And so I wanted the music to represent that from a beat standard, but I also wanted people to immediately know what it is as soon as they heard it. And Billy asked me, well, what do you think? What are you thinking? I said, well, having gone to a Smashing Pumpkins / Marilyn Manson concert earlier in the year, because whenever you work for Billy Corgan, if he's ever in town with the Smashing Pumpkins, everyone's invited to go. So it's a good time. I digress. So having known that he has a relationship with Marilyn, I said, oh, I'm thinking something from Marilyn Manson, assuming that Billy would be like, no, we can't do that. And then he was like, oh, well, what song? And I was like, oh, shit. I wasn't ready for that. Give me a minute and I'll come back to you. So I went through the catalog, and I had a couple songs picked out, and the Nobodies was definitely on the list, because the opening noise is so distinct that there's nothing else like it. It doesn't sound anything else like it. It's very cool, and like it provokes a feeling and an emotion. So I came back to him with the Nobodies, and he listened to it. He's like, okay, I like it. He's like, here's the thing, is that this will likely not happen because it's going to cost money. Not just like Marilyn's going to want some money, but the record company's going to want some money, the label, all this. Like, there's a bunch of hoops we have to jump through. Plus, it's 2:30 in the afternoon or whatever time it was. Marilyn's in LA. It's daytime in LA, so he's going to be asleep. So, going forward, that's what we're going to try and use. But for today, let's try and find something in-house. And I was like, okay, cool. And then an hour later, he came back to me. He's like, okay, we have the song. And I was like, oh, shit, okay, cool. Awesome. All right. Okay, cool. And then the nursery rhyme or riddle that you spoke of earlier, that came about. They laid out like what they kind of wanted us to do, which is pretty much what you see. And I remember Billy was like, well, what is she going to say? And he was kind of doing everything through me. Like, and I was like, well, I don't know. We'll figure, like, what are you thinking? And he's like, well, it's got to be, and he came up with like the riddle me this, riddle me that from, whatever. And then he's like, well, but we should switch it around.
Yeah.
Like, let's switch it. So it's riddle me that, riddle me this. And then he just kind of came up with the verbiage right then and there in the room, like on the spot, like me, Rosemary, Billy Corgan, and John Gabor. And I remember Billy going to Rosemary and saying, okay, say it. And she's like, yeah, okay. And I looked at her like, no, now. And she's like, what, right now? And he's like, yeah, I need to hear how it's going to come out of you. And she's like, she was very taken aback by it, as anybody would be, because it's just us in a room. No one's like, the feeling isn't there, the atmosphere isn't there, right? To drop into character like that. But she's a pro, so she did and dropped in, and they're okay, cool, that's gonna work. All right. And then we were off to the races after that. Then it was a very exciting time. That was a very exciting day. And then the following tapings after that were like, it was a roller coaster. It was awesome. It was very cool for me to wake up and see, oh shit, man, like this is 10 years and we've done Decay is like 10 years since Decay. It's pretty cool. It's very, very cool.
It is.
Yeah.
And obviously Rosemary's still being there as well. Go on, Fee.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it must be pretty cool to do something like that with two of your really, really good friends, though, and be able to go on the road and do something that you've been able to have so much control over in terms of the creative side of it.
It was really rewarding, and I've said this on other podcasts, and I'm not burying TNA. It's out there in the world at that time, with Dixie being in charge, and like there was like Billy at one point was going to buy it. That like our paychecks weren't coming in on time. They never owed us any money, but the time in which we would get our paychecks were very sporadic, and it was very frustrating for a lot of us. I was in a really good position where I was still living with Eric Young at the time. So I was never in like a place where like bills needed to be paid and stuff like that, whereas other guys were. That being said, like despite that frustration that we all shared, I was not even close to our focus. Like myself, Holly, Abyss, we just plow forward, and we were so excited for what was to come and what we could do because we had so much creative freedom, and they believed in us, and it was working. We had proof that like it was between us and the Hardys, and it would bounce back and forth as it pertains to who had the #1 best-selling shirt. And so when they gave us that freedom and we're able to like, look, like you could put other people in the group, but you're not going to get the same thing. This is special. And there's like an energy between the three of us, and it's special for that reason. And that's why it works. And so, yeah, it was like, we didn't even think about the BS that was going on behind the scenes, because we were too focused on what we were doing, because it was working and it was generating money for the company. And that in itself is really rewarding. It's one thing to be like, oh, let me show my art to the world. But it's another thing to say, I want to show my art to the world, but you have to know that it's going to benefit you. And we're here to do good business, and we're here to do business. And so it was very rewarding to see that, like, hey, they trust in us and it's working. You know, it was good. Yeah. I don't know. I have no bad things to really say about it.
And it's also, a couple of months later that when you guys debuted, it was working so much that you won the titles off of Beer Money, of course, which is another very popular tag team in TNA. I think it was March the 19th, I believe, that you defeated Beer Money for those tag belts. But you mentioned the Hardys, and I just wanted to work, because you had a lot of, I think you had the Great War, you had, was it the Wolf Creek cage match, I believe, some of these crazy matches with the Broken Hardys at the time. What is it like working with those guys?
So that was another thing that we thought was like, this is cool, because it didn't feel like they shoehorned us into that spot. It felt like it was a natural progression that, like, because when Matt was doing the Broken Matt stuff, it's not like he was like, oh yeah, and then we'll work with this creepy crawly group of Decay. We weren't even a thing that he was doing Broken Matt beforehand.
Yeah.
And it's not like Decay was inspired based off of the Broken Matt or the Broken Universe either. That's not it at all. It was just, I had my thing, he had his thing. And then my thing became a business thing, and Rosemary's thing. And then it became this whole other world. And they were always going to clash. And it was one of those things where like it was a natural progression. Again, it didn't feel like it was shoehorned. It felt like, no, this is how it should go. And the people want it. We want it. And then for me personally, I grew up watching the Hardys, right? Like we did, you can say what you want. We weren't the last match at Bound for Glory, but we were the main event of Bound for Glory that year.
Yeah.
And I can remember laying on the tables and seeing Jeff on top of the ladder, knowing that he's going to swanton me. And I remember I'm like, I'm going to stare at this the whole time. As blind as I am, I want this vision, because like I've seen him do it on pay-per-views when I was like 17 years old, 18 years old. You're like, like I watched him from on top of the ladder, but now I'm looking down and it's actually him landing on me. Like it was very, very, very surreal. But overall, like working with those guys was a pleasure, because it was everybody had a say, right? Like, yes, Matt and Jeff are the veterans for sure, but when it came time to like tag team Apocalypto and the Great War and and the leader Decay, all of everybody had a say. Everyone came to the table. Best idea wins. Does not matter who says it. And the cool part is because it's the Hardys, you could say some stuff like, "Oh, what if Jeff fought a kangaroo?" And they're like, "Oh, I think we can make that happen." Yeah, that's the cool part about it, right? Right. So there was that aspect of it too. But yeah, there's definitely like a surreal part where you stop for a minute. You're like, "Oh shit!" Like I'm fighting Jeff in his pool. I don't know if there's ever been another underwater wrestling match, but me and Jeff had one. Right prior to that, I don't know. So
I can't say I've seen one since.
Yeah. And again, oh hey, we're gonna put these fireworks on a drone and we're gonna shoot them at your face, Steve. And it was like, okay, let's go, right? Like
bring it on.
It was just I don't know. It very cool, and it felt like we could have had just regular matches with those guys and it wouldn't have been the same. Like our relationship will forever be entwined to those tapings and that storyline in general. And I can remember, I don't think I've ever shared this with anybody, but I remember after doing, I think it was the Great War at Bound for Glory. Cody Rhodes was with us at the time, and he and I were talking about it, and he was praising us, and I don't know if you understand this, he said, but you guys are changing wrestling. Like similar to how the Hardys and Edge and Christian and the Dudleys did it with TLC, Decay and the Hardys are doing that now with this crazy dimensional war and stuff like that. And at the time I remember thinking oh yeah, this is super cool, and that's very gracious of you to say. But I don't know if I looked at it like that. I still don't know if I look at it like that. But then you factor in when COVID came around, everybody was doing that sort of thing because that's all we had. You didn't, so all of a sudden cinematic matches became a thing. And I understand that Delete or Decay wasn't the first to do a cinematic match, but when we did do Delete or Decay, 2 weeks later, the New Day and the Wyatts were doing their version of that as well. So it was obvious that what we did was working.
Yeah.
And then like I said, then you go back to the COVID time and you're like, oh shit, man, we were doing this before we didn't have an audience. So it's kind of interesting to look at it from that standpoint too.
With those matches, I know you're obviously putting it together and everything, but you don't have a crowd there. And obviously sometimes you feed off of the crowd, or you listen to, sometimes you change your match sometimes because you're listening to what the crowd are saying. How different was it difficult to do these type of matches without the crowd there? So
it was, I looked at it from a different standpoint. I didn't use wrestling as a reference. And that was that idea took a minute for me to get to. Because when presented with oh, we're going to go to the Hardys compound and we're going to do all this crazy stuff, the idea, well, there's no crowd, so then what do I look for ideas or inspiration? And that's when I started to look at movies. Well, we're shooting a movie, we're not doing wrestling. Yeah, we're totally shooting a movie. And that's where the scene in Delete or Decay where Jeff is sitting on the pool and I come up out of nowhere from the pool and I drag him back underwater. That's totally ripped off from Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
And so I was if we're going to do this sort of thing, Decay is the horror movie aspect to whatever the Broken Hearted universe is. So that's where again, I'm stealing from Friday the 13th. I'm looking at Halloween or anything that I was already a fan of horror movies anyway, but once presented with the idea, I was like, oh, wrestling isn't going to work here. We have to steal from other things, or at least take inspiration from other things. And so movies became how we planned the match.
Wow, that was incredible. It was an incredible match, I remember, and you set the standard, as you said, for cinematic matches going forward for sure. Fee, over to you.
Yeah. I was going to say, it's making me want to go back and watch. It's been a long time since I've seen it, so it's making me want to go back and see it again, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I may
dude,
do
it's a
that
fun
once we
watch.
finish talking. What's that?
It's a fun watch. If like,
Oh,
Yeah.
if you're in on it, like, and that's the thing too, is like the audience was in on it. They
Yeah.
like, it's not like we were trying to insult them. They were with us the whole ride. Like, you know,
Sure.
so I think that's why it got the kind of reaction that it did get. I think if you were to show this to like somebody who doesn't watch wrestling, or even like a younger fan who's never seen it before, I don't know what their response would be. But at the time, man, it was working. And yeah, it was super, super cool.
Yeah, it really was. It really, really was. Poor thing.
So your gimmick kind of scary sort of clown thing going on. I hate clowns, so it's always kind of freaked me out a little bit. What was your kind of inspiration behind going down that kind of route with your character?
Well, I mean, like when you first start out wrestling, and I don't mean like professionally wrestling, I mean like when I first started like wrestling, like with my friends in the backyard or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm still a really tiny guy. I was way tinier back then, right? At like 16. So you either wore a mask or you wore face paint to tell whoever was around, like, hey, I'm a pro wrestler, because my body certainly does not look like one. So I think like that idea, and I've always been into, like, I grew up on pro wrestling and superheroes and comic books and horror movies, and my musical taste has always been of the heavier side. So like, especially as an angsty teenager in high school, I'm listening to Slipknot, I'm listening to Mudvayne and Rob Zombie and Marilyn Manson, and like all these bands that have some sort of showmanship aspect to them, or at least have a very visual representation to them. And so you take that with pro wrestling and horror movies, and you ball it all up into one, and then that's kind of where the birth of Crazy Steve came in. Like, even in backyard wrestling, I always had a darker character, or would wear face paint or stuff like that. I've always been artsy fartsy too. Like, despite the fact that I was born blind and now I'm legally blind, for whatever reason, when I was a kid, my hobby was drawing. I would draw my wrestlers, or I would draw comics and stuff like that. I was constantly drawing, and it entertained me for hours. And I'm still like that now, but I don't draw as much as I did back then. But I've always had an artistic side to me. So I think the face paint and the creepiness and all that stuff is, again, it's amalgamation, a convergence of all of those things.
Yeah.
I think you should have wore it tonight. Just could have scared Fiona.
I'd have been like this.
Yeah. You mentioned there, Steve, about the blindness and being legally blind. If you don't mind me asking, how does that, when you're wrestling, how do you do? I know it's a stupid question when I ask how do you do it, but how do you do it?
Sure. Yeah, and like, but that's the easiest way to ask. That's when I got hired. That was the first thing that John Gaboric asked. He was like, "All right, so how do you do it? Like, what's the trick?" Is kind of, and it's like, well, there is no trick. I was born like straight blind, and I had cataracts when I was born. It was premature, and then when put into an incubator, the oxygen being pumped in the incubator can sometimes cause infants to get cataracts, which is what happened to me. So once my parents realized, like, hey, like, he's a cool kid and all, but he doesn't do much. Like, he just kind of sits around, and then they're going to realize, like, oh, he's blind, like, he can't see to do anything. So they removed the cataracts, which is kind of similar to what LASIK surgery is today.
Yeah.
So it gave me the gift of sight, but I can't drive a car. Like, reading small print is very hard. I had a very difficult time in school with, like, again, I'm an older generation, so we didn't have like computers at every desk. It was an overhead.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So shit like that was really, really difficult for me. But when it comes to pro wrestling, For example, in a lot of times, like I can't see the ring ropes. I can't see the fans. Um, in like, especially on the independents, it's a hit or miss. In TNA and in NWA and like AEW and these other places that I perform for, like the production level is a lot better, and
Yeah.
that changes things from a eyesight perspective. But it's not great, right? The I like I feel like wrestling is a very physical thing, and so if I can touch you, I can control you. If I can control you, then I can keep you safe.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
when we're dealing with things like at a distance, and I generally don't do things that I don't have confidence in that are A, going to look good, or B, keep you safe,
Yeah.
right?
Sure.
So I just cut those things out, and it forces me to be creative, and it forces me to think outside the box. Whereas for instance, like I'm not going to do a top rope leg drop because I can't judge the distance from my leg to your skull. And I'm not
Yeah.
interested in paralyzing anybody or hurting myself or anybody. So I'm just not going to do that move. And that's fine. I'll do something else. And again, if it's hands on. So when we lock up and I put you in these holds, I've done it so many times through repetition, just because I'm obsessed. I'm like partly talented, but mostly obsessed with pro wrestling. So I'm going to be good at it because I'm going to force myself to be good at it. And that's what I did in training. It's just reps, just continuously going over the same steps over and over again. So like, I don't even have to think about it when I'm in there.
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. That is incredible. That's still incredible to be able to do that. I think it's an amazing feat. Obviously, look, you did leave TNA at one point. You did return, but in the midst of that, you had a WWE tryout, if I'm right. Is that right? 2017
Yes, yeah.
WWE tryout. How did that go, and who was that with?
So that was that was the original reason pretty much why I left TNA in the first place. There was some other business stuff that I wasn't too thrilled about when it came to renewing my contract anyway. And I knew I had this opportunity coming up, and I knew that the opportunity wasn't going to be there if I was still going to remain with TNA.
Right.
So I decided to take the jump and bet on myself, so to speak. And it was like a 3-day combine. And it was awesome. I don't have any bad things to say about it. I mean, you step into that place and you're like immediately inspired because it's just so cool. And there's so much stuff, like from memorabilia to just like it's the WWE. So they have top of line everything. And like the thought of like, if I can work here, there's so much stuff I can learn. And I'm so excited to learn. And I'm so excited to grow. And I just look in every place there's opportunity to learn. So I went in fully committed. And the combine was awesome. It was 2 days of grinding, workouts, bumping, seeing what you can do. They had an idea of who's wrestled, who wasn't a wrestler, how many matches you've had, and that sort of thing. And so and it was good. And then like day 3, we did promos and we did matches. And the people who were experienced wrestlers, they did matches. The ones who weren't, they didn't do matches. And I was asked to do an extra promo after my match, and that didn't catch me off guard. But it was like in those 3 days, they weren't giving you any feedback as it pertains to like, hey, you're doing great, or hey, you need to step it up. They were not giving anybody feedback because there's 50 people there, and if they give one person feedback, then everyone's going to want to know how they're doing, and rightfully so. So they had to keep it as like neutral as possible. That being said, like it was through like just general conversation where you kind of had to figure out like, do they like me? Do they not like me? So Matt Bloom he was in charge of that whole thing, and like he would just say things to me, like not picking on me, but kind of picking on me. He knew I was trained by Eric Young, and at the time Eric Young was working for NXT, and so like we were about to do a drill, and he's like, "Hey Steve, I talked to EY today. He told me you were going to quit on us." Well,
No.
And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to make a liar out of both of you. So, whatever. And then, like, I remember we did a drill where 4 guys or 1 guy in each corner, and you were numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, and he'd call out your number, and you would do a roll into the middle of the ring and a roll back to your corner.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm standing in my corner, and I'm number 1, and at one point he just went 1, 1, 1, 1,
Oh.
1. So I just had to keep rolling back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And it's like things like that where you're like, okay, he's testing me, and I'm going to pass this test. Like that's how I kind of took it as it pertains to like how I was doing. And like again, my eyesight definitely came up. I knew that it would. Is it because they don't know, and they're a publicly traded company, so they can't, like, liabilities are a real thing, especially over there. So like,
yeah.
Despite the fact that I had been wrestling for I don't know how many years up to that point, and proved myself as it pertains to I can do TV wrestling and pay-per-views and all that stuff. Like, that's not the issue. But I remember they asked, like, hey, I think we were doing a crisscross drill where one guy runs one way, the other guy runs the opposite way.
Yeah.
And he asked, hey, can you do this? And I knew it was going to get asked, so I had an answer prepared right away. And I said, look, I wouldn't put him, who was Cody Deaner at the time, I wouldn't put him in danger, and I certainly wouldn't put myself in danger, and I'm not putting this company at risk. If I didn't think I could do this, I wouldn't be here. Mm-hmm. He's like, okay. Of course. And then we proceeded to do crisscross forever. And so it was like, again, the experience overall was great. I got an email afterwards that was much different than a couple of the other guys who'd gotten emails. Like, mine was more personable, had my name attached to it and specific things that I had done within the tryout. So it was like, okay, it wasn't just your standard, hey, thanks for coming in, but we're not ready for you at the time.
Yeah.
It was like, hey, we like what you've done. We're not ready for you right now, but we like your character. And if we ever, if there is an opportunity for this character to come or something like this character to come here, we'd like to reach out, yada, yada, yada. Yeah. And so that was that. And then it was like, and that was 2017. So I was like, okay, well, now what? Because I left what was, I left Decay at, like, we haven't even scratched the surface as it pertains to peaking.
Yeah.
But now I found myself in this situation. So then it was, like, okay, well, what do I do? So then I just went and did everything, every indie under the sun. I went to England, wrestled for Southside when they were a thing.
Yep. Oh, they were great.
I shout out to Ben. I went and did, I spoke with Al Snow, and I worked with OVW for a year, helping out their talent as it pertains to TV and stuff like that. So that was a really cool experience too. I got to do a lot of cool things outside of, in that time off.
Yeah.
That was really, really
cool.
Cool.
We know you more recently as well from your stint with NWA.
Oh, yes.
Where you've been involved with The Lost, with Alex Misery, Lev, Sinister Minister, Gags the Gimp. How's it been? Obviously, you've worked with Billy before at TNA. How's it been being back with Billy and being in the ring with those guys and some of the vets in that locker room?
Yeah, it's great. The locker room is awesome. All the guys are cool. I like Nux is there, and I hadn't seen him since Menagerie days, right? So like, there's a lot of like good people there, a lot of really talented individuals there. The opportunities that I've had to work with NWA have been positive. It reminds me a lot of like old TNA, where like everybody wants everyone to have the best match. Yeah. And like, I want to go out there and I want to kill it. And if you kill it even more than I did, then awesome. And if not, then let's figure out a way that it does happen, because iron sharpens iron.
Yeah.
And absolutely. And that's the mentality of that locker room. I think with the difference being is that NWA is like, it's all the creative and stuff that goes through one man.
Yeah. And
that one man is Billy. So even when you're chit-chatting with him, it's like, it's almost like you're not getting the real person, and you can't, because he's being pulled in so many different directions. You're having conversation, and he's present for sure. He's definitely present. He's very good at being present in the moment. But also, like, there'll be moments where he'll look off, and you just imagine like it's the Tony Stark thing where he's on his computer and he's just switching everything around like this. He's doing, that's kind of what's going on in there. And it has to, because he's not just running NWA. He's also the lead singer of the Smashing Pumpkins. And maybe they've got a tour in 2 weeks. Like, there's a lot of stuff going on there. But yeah, it's just the locker room is a talented bunch of, of young talent. There's talent that's already like that is the now, and then there's a good selection of older talent who are there to help out the guys
Yeah.
and help them do TV, because for a lot of the roster they haven't done TV before. So they're, and that's a whole nother monster as it pertains to independent wrestling.
Yeah, definitely so. I want to ask about Mr. Misery. We've had the, or should I say, we've had the misfortune in having him on this show. We're still recovering for having him on the show. But in all seriousness, Steve, I mean, I look at someone like Alex Misery, and that guy, every time I watch him in the ring, he blows me away with just how good I call him the NWA's version of Darby Allin, because I can just picture him doing the crazy stuff that we see what Darby does on AEW. Is he one of the ones that potentially, I'm not saying that leaves the NWA and does all these things, but is he sort of one to watch in the next sort of 1 to 3 years, about somewhere where he could sort of blow up quite big, and not necessarily in NWA, but elsewhere?
I think Alex definitely has the potential to do that. Yeah, like he's an enigma.
Very much so.
Like, like you compared him to Darby, and you compare Darby to Jeff as in that terms too, right? Like, but the person that Darby Allin is not the same person that Jeff Hardy is.
No.
And the person that Alex Misery is not the same person that Darby Allin is or Jeff Hardy, right? Again, he's his own thing, which makes him super special. And if he can really tap into that, and if the NWA can tap into that, then they have something special in their hands for sure. You mean? And then also, like, is he one to watch out for? Yeah, I would definitely say so. As long as he can keep himself healthy and doesn't get injured, like, because his style of wrestling is risky.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he doesn't, like, he understands that too. But, like, again, it's like he's not doing these things because he's like, this will really get him going. He knows that it will, but he's like, that is not his motivation. He's himself, and he's just going to do it because that's what he wants to do. Like, because he feels it, like it's different. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
He doesn't walk into like a place. He's like, oh, this would be a really sick spot if I did this. He's like, oh, what if, it just comes to him like, oh, of course I could do that. And like, of course,
like
fine. You don't have
nature.
to. No, that's fine. Like he's just him. He's a special cat for sure.
Yeah, he really is. I think he basically come on this show in character, so what he's getting. Yeah. So we're still recovering from having him on. Steve, any more NWA questions, Steve, before I move on?
No, I'll let you go on. I'm
great.
intrigued to hear more. I'm actually looking forward to hearing more about Repa and JCP. So
this is where I was going. Yes. So you would have seen 2 new subscribers, one to the Reaper Wrestling and one to your personal YouTube channel, which was going to be hitting the turnbuckle. So you've been doing a lot of work for Reaper Wrestling. I saw, and for those of you that haven't seen, go on to Steve's YouTube channel. They've done this great video package for a feud that he had with one of your friends for like 25 years, if I remember rightly, which was TJ, who you kind of turned on him at a show. I think you hit him with a chair, and then you've done it's like 4.5, 5-minute video package, basically detailing everything ahead of this big match and this big blow-off match that you had there, where you were stapling him and you're putting him through tables like you would normally do. But talk to us about Reaper and talk to us about that in general and what you're doing there, because it's really intriguing.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for the compliments on the video. That's all my doing. So Reaper was presented to me early last year. Through another independent wrestling promotion. There's a gentleman named Aaron who was sponsoring this particular wrestling promotion named Neo Spirit Pro. Shout out to NSP. And he was like, hey, I need a couple guys. He had his own clothing company called Rest When Dead. And he was looking for some wrestlers who wouldn't mind taking some free swag and possibly coming out to Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan for a weekend where we would just create content for this supplements and for Rest When Dead clothing line. I was like, yeah, okay. So he flew out me and Jody Threat, Jake Something, and Cody Diener, and gave us a bunch of free swag, which is, for an independent wrestler, we love free swag. We love free anything almost. So
Yeah, why not?
yeah. Yeah. And it was quality stuff. Like I really, really, like I generally liked it. And again, my artsy fartsy brain started kicking off. So I was like, hey, like, you know, I could design some stuff for you. And like, if you like, you know, certain things. And he's like, yeah, please do. So he was listening to me and creating clothes that I was helping design. And I was like, oh, like we just developed this relationship. And then he was like, hey, I'm thinking about starting up Reaper Wrestling. And I wanted to have my own wrestling company. And I was like, oh, that's a terrible idea. Don't do that. How much money do you want to lose, man? Stop. No, that's terrible. Don't do that. Stick with your other things. And he was like, no. I really want to do it. I really want to do it. And so he asked for my help. He asked for Cody Diener's help as it pertains to the wrestling and the booking side of it. And he said, I'll take care of the business side. And we've been operating for a year now. We've ran 4 or 5 shows. We're just starting now to put the pieces together for our 2026 return. Again, we're located in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, which it's very far. And so when winter comes around, like you got to shut things down because we're not gonna even attempt to have people come out of their house to come into this, you know, building and watch pro wrestling. So we ended in November. We're going to start back up in April and just carry on and keep going. But we have Aaron's vision was very clear from the get-go, in that he did not want to look like another independent pro wrestling company. Like he said, Moose Jaw has its fair share of independent pro wrestling, and a lot of times it's not the greatest representation of what he thinks wrestling can be and could be and should be. And he happens to have the business mind, and he happens to have the funds that he can create this. And so he asked for my help, and I said, I'd be more than happy to help you. You know, I've seen this before where somebody comes in with money and they want to do some stuff and they put their trust in certain people, and those people are out for themselves and they just take and never really give back. And then that promotion dies. Or the promoter himself, or the banker in this case, wants to be a part of the promotion. He always wants to be the champ and this, that, and the other. And that was not what Aaron wanted. If he can stay away from the camera, then the more the better. And I'm of the mindset of I don't want to take, I want to provide opportunities for other professional wrestlers to get on bigger shows and, you know, and form at the top of their game and make something better in general. Not only that, but he's named me the creative director of the shows and of Reaper Wrestling in general. So when it comes to our promos and it comes to, you know, hype packages and stuff like that, that's where I really get to kind of put my creative spin on those things, which is what you've seen and what I'm promoting. But we want every wrestler on our roster to have like a video package similar to what I've been putting together for myself. I take pride in that, and I want it to look different than what you normally see, or at least from an independent professional wrestling standpoint. We're trying to raise the bar. And hopefully we're doing that, you know. And like our roster, again, we have a really talented roster of not just, you know, of independent talent around that area, but Frankie Kazarian has been our inaugural champion and continues to be our champion. We've had Tom Latimer come in with the NWA heavyweight title, defending it against Frankie Kazarian, which that's never happened before. That match has never happened before. And both of those titles were on the line. We've had Cody Diener, obviously, myself, and we have plenty other ideas and names that we want to bring in that I'm not going to say at this moment in time because they're on the list and they're yet to be brought in. But again, we want to bring in, we want to provide the audience with a show that they can't get around in their area. And we want to provide our viewers on YouTube an entertaining, easily digestible, action-packed show with some cool kick-ass vignettes. And for the wrestlers, we want to provide the younger, up-and-coming generation a place to work and make good money, make better money than what they're making on the independents. Like Aaron prides himself on paying guys, better than what they would make on your general independent. And he's going out of his way to do things like, if you work for Reaper, he'll create a t-shirt for you. It goes online. It costs you nothing. But if someone buys your t-shirt, you can get a kickback of it. Like, he doesn't have to do that. He's just the promoter. You know what I mean? But he wants wrestling to be better, and he wants everyone around him to be better. And that's like, if you're working for him like I am, he wants, rising tide raises all ships. And he busts his ass. He expects you to do the same. And he has a standard. And we've met that standard every time. And it's proved to be beneficial from a financial standpoint, but also from a creative standpoint too. And generally from my pro wrestling soul, makes me happy.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're building something pretty special there. We'll go through all the links and stuff at the end, but I take it is available on YouTube for people to watch if they want to check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we have. I think all of our shows up to this point are on YouTube. I am currently editing and working on a documentary detailing the first year, and kind of give viewers a backstage look at what goes on behind the scenes, and they get to speak to or at least get to hear from the talking heads that do create Reaper Wrestling. So we're definitely trying to build something special. I mean, if they say if you build it, they will come. So we built it, and people are showing up every single time. We're just trying to continuously raise the bar and make wrestling awesome.
Well,
That's great. Are you enjoying being on the creative side of things then?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I can't fall down forever. Eventually my body's gonna break. I'm not getting any younger. I'm not announcing any retirement or anything like that anytime soon. But the reality is that I won't be able to fall down forever. And professional wrestling is a world where I am the most passionate that I am in all walks of life. Don't get me wrong, I love my dogs and I love my family. But from a business standpoint or a reason to get out of bed and go to work, like pro wrestling has always been that for me. And if I'm afforded the opportunity to work in the capacity of professional wrestling in some way, shape, or form and pay my bills, I would be very, very happy to do that. So that's where I'm trying to build that resume up from a video standpoint or a creative standpoint. Like I would love to be a producer for any company, that can help with character development or storylines and stuff like that. I really, really take a lot of enjoyment out of the creative side.
Yeah, well, anything that you've done at the moment's done really well, not just at Reaper, but your characters in general. By the way, it's at Reaper Wrestling on YouTube. If you type in Reaper Wrestling on Instagram as well, that will be on there. I've actually just got the Tom Latimer Frankie Kazarian match up, ready to watch in a second when we finish this off, because I want to go and see that match. Because I saw your match with TJ earlier on, and I wanted to watch the Latimer Kazarian match, so I will do that.
But with the crossbow.
Yeah, but
okay, we'll leave it at that.
We'll leave it there. I want to watch it all and then have a little thing on it. But Fee, look, you are the queen of the last question, which is generally quite a random one when it comes to these programs. I don't know why people come on this show when they see you're on it with these weird questions, but anyway,
that's
nevertheless,
just rude.
Now they are actually brilliant. I really enjoy them. But what is the question that you want to ask Crazy Steve?
So originally, I was going to ask you what is the craziest thing that Crazy Steve has ever done, but I'm not going to ask you that. I mean, you're welcome to tell us, but I'm not going to ask you that. Since we've spoken about clowns, I want to know who is your favorite clown?
Oh,
man, there's a lot of contenders. Oh, wow.
I know. I thought there might be. That's why I'm asking. I'm putting you on the spot here.
Yeah. Okay. Oh man, there's too many. Okay, I'll give you I'll give you three, and I'm not going to give you an order in which one is.
You can go. You can go three.
Yeah.
Okay, three.
Okay.
You got to go with the Joker.
Yep.
Because I mean, you have to. He's definitely an inspiration. Not just me, but there's plenty of. He has inspired plenty of wrestlers, whether they're creepy or not. That character and how he's been written and how he's been portrayed has definitely inspired many a wrestler, myself included. Art the Clown definitely came on the scene in a big way. I'd like to say that I was with him from day one when I first was on board. So it was not like Terrifier 2 and 3 came out and I just jumped on board. No, I've been with Art from day one. So Art the Clown is definitely very cool. And the idea that he doesn't speak and just uses body language like a mime is really powerful and can be just as inspiring.
It's the
Oh,
creepy,
man,
it's the creepy wave that gets me with the smile, and I'm like, oh, I can't deal with that.
Right? It's the lack of a voice, because you
completely.
fill in the voice when he's doing all the movements, right?
Yeah.
Man, okay, I said I give you 3, but I came up like there's so many. You got like I'll say Clown from Spawn.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So that maybe like from a comic book standpoint, and even the animated HBO films, Clown from Spawn was really, really hit big with me back in the day. And I said I'd give you 3, but I would be remiss if I did not mention my good friend Sid Haig and Captain Spaulding. Come on now, what an amazing character, and generally a sweetheart of a human being too. I had the fortune, I was able to meet him at a signing, and he was just, I have the Decay face paint on, the photo somewhere on, I have the Decay face paint on because I was doing the signing alongside him, and I get the photo, but like when you look at the photo, it's just Steve, the human, like smiling right through the face paint. You can see it perfectly. Like face paint doesn't hide my joy and general joy for that human being, and he was just super nice. So like, yeah, Captain Spaulding's got to be on the list too.
I think that was a brilliant question. My favorite clown, Krusty.
I was going to say Krusty. Okay, yeah. That was my. I was going to say Krusty.
But in wrestling terms, Yarbo and Ruffo, the clowns, the brothers of Funkstruction. Yeah, that was.
Yep.
Those are my 2. But guys, we're going to start wrapping up right there. But before I do, I got to announce, obviously, the Hitting the Turnbuckle is sponsored by Dubby, your taste buds' favorite energy drink. If you want a discount, go on and type HTT Buckle in the cart and you'll get 10% off. But Steve, as we wrap up now, where can people contact you? Where are you active on your socials? Show us all your links, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. So from a booking standpoint, book Crazy Steve. That is with 2 Z's. Yep. Book Crazy Steve at gmail.com. I don't really do Twitter that much, or X, whatever you want to call it. For social media platforms, Instagram is where you can communicate with me the most. That is, you can find me there at TNA_crazy, once again with 2 Z's, _Steve at Instagram. That's TNA_crazy_Steve. And then if you would like to buy a t-shirt or something like that, I have a pro wrestling tee store, again, under Crazy Steve. And lastly, Reaper Wrestling. You can follow me on YouTube as well. I don't put up a lot of YouTube stuff on my own channel unless I'm doing something that particularly pertains to me. But, you're still supporting me by supporting Reaper Wrestling. And, you're not just seeing me. You get to see a lot of other really, really great, fantastic wrestlers. So check it out.
There we go. Fee, it's been great talking to you, Steve, as well. But Fee, what a great interview that we've had just now. But we're not finished for the week. Steve. Yes, thank you, Steve. We're not finished for the week. We're back tomorrow at time of recording with Exodus Pro Wrestling, and I can't wait for you to ask what question you're going to ask our next guest tomorrow.
I'm going to make it a good one for him tomorrow. Yeah.
Yes, make sure you do. Handsome Harley from Exodus Pro Wrestling will be coming on, and we'll be reviewing, hopefully, if you get to watch it, the NWA Power, the last episode of Samhain, before they go back to the Power Station. But Steve, it has really been great talking to you. Thanks so much for taking up your time to talk to us. Go and see your dogs. That's what I'm going to say.
Go and give Winston a cuddle from us.
Yes,
but he's definitely ready to play. He's always ready to play.
He's ready to play. But until then, everybody, follow us, HTT Buckle on X, HTT Buckle on YouTube, actually HTT Buckle everywhere on social media. But until tomorrow, everybody, from Crazy Steve, from Miss Fiona Lochran, I've been Adam Cousins. And until next time, buckle down, stay safe, and good night.